In his breakout years at Arsenal, Héctor Bellerín was viewed as a very talented right-back that could go on to be the best in the world in his position. However, none of that happened. Whether it be down to injuries or attitude, it will just go down as the story of what could have been. In this video, I'm going to be talking about quite the sad and disappointing story of Héctor Bellerín. If you do enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. At just 7 years old, Héctor Bellerín was in the Barcelona school in the 2002-2003 season. The season after, he was recruited to play for the under-10B team and stayed throughout till he was at under-16A before he departed to join Arsenal. And so on July 1st, 2011, he would join Arsenal's under-18s for a fee of €500,000. At just the age of 16, leaving his home club to join Arsenal in a country where he doesn't speak the language, it is going to be difficult, but Héctor Bellerín got through. And in July 2013, Bellerín signed his first professional contract. Within 2 months, he made his competitive debut, replacing Mikel Arteta in a League Cup victory over West Brom. Arteta at the time was a big fan of Héctor Bellerín. He was a great admirer, and in September 2015, he told Arsenal.com, "I knew 2 years ago that he had the ability to be first choice at Arsenal, and I can't see any better right back in the next 2 years in Spain." 2 months later, Bellerín was loaned out to Championship side Watford. It was hoped he would make a big impression, get lots of minutes, however that wasn't the case. Bellerín struggled for minutes whilst at the Hornets and returned to Arsenal in the 14-15 season with lack of experience. The summer of 2014 saw Bakary Sagna leave the club after 8 years, who dominated the right back spot. Arsenal brought in Matthew Debuchy and Callum Chambers, so there would be competition for the right back spot, and it seemed as if Bellerín would be getting limited minutes. However, during pre-season, he played like a man intent on making an impression. Arsenal fans especially remember a friendly against Benfica where they won 5-1. Bellerín was given a start, he starred, fans were impressed with his speed and his skill. A year later, he spoke to Arsenal.com. Speaking of that game against Benfica, he said, "It was a game that gave me the chance to prove myself and show everyone what I could do." Debuchy isn't really a memorable Arsenal player for a reason, because his time at Arsenal was essentially cursed. He got 2 significant injuries in his opening season. In September 2014, he had to get ankle surgery. This afforded Héctor Bellerín his Champions League debut in a 2-0 defeat to Dortmund. Sadly for Bellerín, it wasn't the thing of dreams. His performance was quite poor. He got a lot of criticism. Most people would have crumbled, but instead he fought back. Debuchy got another big injury in January, and Héctor Bellerín got his chance again, coming off the bench in a game versus Stoke, and a week later he played against Manchester City at the Etihad. This was a huge game for Arsenal, and they won 2-0. Francis Coquelin and Bellerín, 2 Academy graduates, were among the stars who shone brightest in that landmark victory. Bellerín's speed was one of the most apparent things about him. To this day, he holds the 40-metre sprint record at Arsenal, beating the likes of Thierry Henry. Bellerín finished that season with 28 appearances, scoring 2 goals and getting 1 assist, along with winning his first trophy as Arsenal would win the FA Cup in 2015. In the 15-16 season, Bellerín would solidify himself as Arsenal's #1 right back. Potentially his most famous game as an Arsenal player came in a 2-0 win over Bayern Munich. Late on into the game, where Arsenal were already 1-0 up, Bayern Munich had the ball and Bellerín made a sprint to win it back. He won it, then outran a different Bayern Munich player to get the ball into the box, where Mesut Ozil would make it 2-0. An absolutely unbelievable showing of his speed and his skill to the rest of the world to see. These fantastic performances earned Bellerín a spot in Spain's Euro 2016 squad. He made 3 appearances in friendlies prior to the tournament, however he didn't get onto the pitch in Euro 2016. His inclusion in the Spain squad is good form for Arsenal, and that earned him interest from Barcelona, a potential return to his boyhood club. These rumours did make sense as Dani Alves had just departed Barcelona. They were in need of a right back, however nothing really materialised with this move, and Bellerín would stay at Arsenal. There was a slight drop off from Bellerín in 16-17, but it was more of the same. 42 appearances, 1 goal, 5 assists. He did alright, however he did have 2 separate ankle injuries, missing a total of 9 games. Arsenal won the FA Cup again in 2017. A few months later they would win the Community Shield. Arsenal were winning the occasional trophy. They had top 4 consistently under Arsene Wenger, and Héctor Bellerín was definitely their #1 right back. Things were looking good. Bellerín in a way peaked in 15-16, which isn't ideal for someone that's in his early 20s, because the drop off was slight after the next couple of years, but it was clear he wasn't going to be one of the best right backs in the world. The following season, 17-18, made 47 appearances, scored 3 goals and got 5 assists, but he was still a good player. Although he had a slight drop off, there was still a chance he could maybe reach the levels everyone thought he could, but 18-19 is where we saw the real drop off. He played 19 Premier League games that season, getting 5 assists. He was looking good under Unai Emery. He had a calf strain in December of 2018, which saw him miss 7 games, and then in January of 2019, he had a cruciate ligament rupture, which saw him miss 240 days of football, 31 matches. He wouldn't be involved in Arsenal's Europa League run, which saw them get to the final. Eden Hazard had a masterclass as Chelsea beat them 4-1, and who knows, if a competent right back was on the pitch with pace to deal with Hazard, maybe it would have been a different story. In 1920, he would make a gradual return to football, play a few matches, but then he picked up a hamstring injury which saw him miss 11 games. In the space of a year, Bellerín had 2 big injuries in his lower body, meaning he was going to be affected by this, and the results were that he would eventually lose his pace. Mikel Arteta took over as Arsenal Arsenal manager in 2020, and he did show faith in his old friend Bellerin, played him consistently, gave him 90 minutes in both the semi-finals and final of the FA Cup as Arsenal would win it. Mikel Arteta's first trophy as Arsenal manager, Bellerin's third edition of the trophy. The 2021 season would see him start consistently. Towards the start of the season he would get consistent minutes, but towards the back end of the season, after a few mistakes in games, he was dropped and really left on the bench or used sparingly as a substitute. 5 years prior to this, he could have been the heir to Dani Alves at Barcelona. Now he just sat on the bench in an Arsenal team that was barely good enough for the Europa League. On the 12th of May 2021, Bellerin would come off the bench versus Chelsea, and in 1-0 win, he would play 22 minutes. Those would be the last 22 minutes he would ever play for Arsenal, as in the summer of 2021, he would join Real Betis on a 1-year loan. And this loan spell was a successful one. He made 32 appearances. He might have wanted to play more, but he got 5 assists, played 90 minutes in a 1-0 win over Barcelona, and got an assist in the Copa del Rey final as Real Betis won their first trophy in over 15 years. Bellerin returned to Arsenal after a successful loan spell. With a year left in his contract, he requested for it to be terminated to allow him to leave the Gunners on a free transfer where he would return to Barcelona. Barcelona were in desperate need of a right back, so why not turn to the guy that knows how to play the Barcelona way and was still only 27 at the time, and that's what they did. However, Bellerin would only play 7 times in his 6 months at Barcelona, picking up an injury which would see him miss 22 days and 5 games. His dream return to Barcelona wouldn't last long, as he was sold within 6 months, Barcelona making a quick profit, selling him to Sporting Lisbon for €1 million. He played a total of 13 times for Sporting Lisbon in the 6 months, picking up an injury which would see him miss a month in March. Barcelona did include him in the list of players that got a medal, so he did get a La Liga winners medal. The deal with Sporting Lisbon was only a 6-month contract, so he will be moving clubs again, and he's going to make a return to Real Betis, which is probably a good move for him. It's the club he's had the most success in the last 4 years, so it makes sense to go back to them. But it's crazy to think about how the fact he is only 28, this player that we all thought was going to reach the very top as one of the best right backs in the world, the potential Dani Alves replacement at Barcelona, his prime should be right now. He should be just entering his prime, while his actual prime was 2016 as a young lad. Go back 7 years ago, everyone thought this is what the modern fullback is: a pacey, energetic player who could run up and down the pitch for days. He was good defensively. This guy was definitely going to go right to the very top of football, but now he's a liability who doesn't have the pace, so he can't track back as fast. He has a mistake in him, and he's more of a liability. Not too bad of a career so far: 3 FA Cups, 3 Community Shields, 1 Copa del Rey, and 1 La Liga. Hopefully he can play consistently at Real Betis. He can show some of the potential we all saw in him 7 years ago. But let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think of Héctor Bellerin? If you did enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and if you want to support the channel that extra bit more, feel free to become a channel member. I am starting a podcast very soon, so make sure to subscribe to The Dugout. I will link it in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.